Quick reminder there, I do actually have a Discord server. We talk anything and everything about Ninjago there, so if you are actually interested in joining, the link will be down in the description below. Now, let's begin with today's video. Hey guys, my name is Overlord X and you are watching a brand new rankings video right here on the channel. Ninjago has had 13 seasons now. This means that there have been an absolute ton of villains throughout the whole show. Some good, while the others, well, not so much. That's why in today's video, I'd like to take the time to give my updated villain rankings to just let you guys know which I like and which I maybe don't like as much. Without wasting any more time here, let's dive straight into the ranking. Alright then, so starting us off at the number 15 spot, I just had to include Asphera. Asphera was the main villain of Season 11, the Fire chapter. She was also the leader of the Pyro Viper Snake tribe. Now this character has just never caught my interest, and I've always hated her a lot, if I'm being honest. Asphera is a classic example of an extremely one-dimensional character. She comes out of her imprisonment and just screams revenge! Which, you know, is understandable, as I'm sure she would want revenge. She's been imprisoned for over 1,000 years, but at the same time, I feel they could have done so much more with her character, and made her a way better character in general. It's just a shame that this is all they did with her, but I'm also very glad we won't be seeing the likes of her anymore. Coming up next, I've decided to include Samukai here. Now, I really don't dislike this guy at all. He was unique, quirky, but he really didn't have that much time to shine. He had about 2 episodes, served his purpose, and that was that. When it really comes down to it, Samukai was nothing more than a simple plot device, and I would say he did that excellently. Overall, cool character, served his purpose, and that was that. So, coming up next is the other Season 11 villain, that of course being the Ice Emperor, aka Zane. So firstly, there is some good stuff with this guy. The fact that he's actually Zane immediately makes this villain pretty interesting and cool. But the main problem is the fact that, well, overall it was just pretty boring. Again, as I said with Asphera, there was just so much potential here, but it just wasn't executed in the best way possible. One of the main reasons for this was the fact that he got about 2 minutes of screen time in only a few episodes of the Ice chapter, which was really appalling to see. I do get what they were going for with the whole mystery vibe and all, but I feel like the Ice Emperor could have actually been one of the best Ninjago villains if he had a load more screen time and development. Coming up next is one that had his main time to shine in Day of the Departed, a Ninjago Halloween special that is pretty hated all over the community. Ah yes, Master Yang. Such an interesting one. Now the thing is with Yang, I don't actually dislike him at all. In fact, I think he's actually pretty cool. But the main reason as to why he's so low on my list is mainly due to the fact that he didn't have much time in the spotlight. And this is usually why villains aren't always that good. And it's just due to a lack of screen time. And it's definitely why Yang isn't that great compared to some other villains. 44 minutes really wasn't enough for him, and it didn't flesh him out that much at all. His redemption, for example, well, it was fine, but it did feel a little forced when you do think about it. It just didn't make all that much sense. Next is one that a lot of absolutely phenomenal in my personal opinion. I know some people didn't even like it when he spoke because his voice had too many effects on it, which actually made it harder to understand, but I was a huge fan of that personally. It was very unique and was something we haven't seen since. So overall, for the Omega, fantastic villain, it's just a real shame he got absolutely zero character development. So next up here we do have the Iron Baron, a new villain that got introduced in Ninjago Season 9 Hunted. Before I do fully begin here, I'd say this guy is a pretty big step up above our previous spots on this list. I really hate to be bringing this one up again, but I just had to. Development. While the Iron Baron didn't actually have much of it, weirdly enough, I don't feel as though he really needed it, as that just added to his character more and more, and made him this big, mysterious, evil person. But for the backstory he did actually receive, well, I think it was really cool and it was really well done. The idea of basically using the power of lies to control his people was just so dark and cruel. I absolutely loved that concept. Yes, Unigami. An extremely interesting villain, and probably one of the most unique villains we have ever seen from Ninjago to date. Now, this guy was barely even a villain, just someone that was extremely confused, and, you know, that made him pretty epic in my opinion. Another fact that made him awesome was the fact that he was the actual programming itself for Prime Empire. He was essentially the embodiment of a full game, which was also something we were new to. While some don't like him because he technically isn't a quote-unquote villain, I think that makes him miles better than some other characters we have already spoken about on this list. It was just so interesting to see that whole side of him play out. And now lastly here, let's just talk about his redemption. I for one think it was actually really great. The fact that he altered his look to look like a child was great symbolism too, symbolising his relationship to his creator, Milton Dyer. Overall, that was such a fantastic scene, and I sure hope we see more of Unigami in a future season. I had a hard time choosing where exactly to put this guy on the list. I decided that here would do just fine. Chen. Probably one of the most wacky and weird villains to date. This guy blended fun with evil, which, you know, on its own does seem like a good concept, and I know a ton of people that enjoyed this. Unfortunately though, I was never a fan of this combination, and it just came off as extremely annoying to me. His voice acting didn't help with that either. I found his voice to be extremely annoying, but at the same time he did serve his purpose as an actual villain. He made me genuinely hate him, which is something not every Ninjago villain can manage to pull off, so that is definitely a plus side here. For Chen, him being Skylar's daughter was also a fantastic twist that I for one never saw coming. Other than that, I don't like Chen all that much, but his overall backstory is really carrying him, which is why he manages to land himself at this spot on the list. Coming straight up next is the latest Ninjago villain that we've been introduced to, the Skull Sorcerer. Arguably, he could be quite boring, but I in fact think he's the polar opposite, and he's really interesting overall. The fact that he's basically just a pawn in a much larger scheme that's still to be fully revealed is enough to make me fall in love with this character. And in a way, he's one of the most ruthless villains to date, completely enslaving 2 whole races just to mine Vengestone. Yeah, that's pretty dark sounding to me. The fact that he also just abandoned his own daughter was very evil too. And if you guys know me, you know that I really love the pure evil, ruthless villains. Pythor, another one I was unsure about, but yeah, he's managed to land himself at this spot on the list. Pythor is just a classic Ninjago villain, and for that exact reason alone, he's managed to land himself this low down on my ranking. Now, Pythor isn't much of a fighter whatsoever. He's more of a planner and is the brains behind any evil operation, and I do think he does that perfectly. Seeing his character fully pan out over the events of Season 1 was just so fun to watch, and at the very end, seeing him learn his lesson was so satisfying to see, and it really showed him what kind of a monster he had just unleashed upon the realm of Ninjago, and yeah, that was just incredible. His performance in Season 3 and Season 4 was good, but nothing too special. In Season 3, he was just kind of the Overlord's servant, but I did actually enjoy seeing his interactions with the Overlord and the Ninjroid army. That was pretty cool. Him in Season 4, well, it was nothing special. Don't get me wrong, seeing him tiny was epic to see, but he was only there just for the plot to run smoothly. But yeah, overall, Pythor is a fantastic villain and a classic Ninjago villain for sure. Harumi. She's a character that has the fanbase completely divided. Some either like her, or some hate her. I'm in the weird mix of, I do actually really like her, but not quite as much as some people do. I'm not that obsessed with her, but she's just so great. She's just so mentally twisted, so much so that she genuinely believed that Garmadon was a great hero, and a huge hero within Ninjago, all because he was the one to defeat the Great Devourer, not the ninja. The Devourer was of course the same beast responsible for the death of Harumi's parents, which caused her to be so messed up. She definitely had a good run throughout seasons 8 and 9 in my personal opinion. Although she had her fair share of slightly annoying moments, I did enjoy her quite a bit, and her hint of a redemption right at the end was incredible too, and her death scene was done fantastically. Now, I'm aware quite a lot of people like to put the Time Twins at separate spots on their lists, but I usually prefer to just pair them together, so here they both are, both of the Time Twins. I found these guys to be so awesome. Crux did get slightly irritating at times, but if I'm being honest, I don't think he deserves the amount of hate he receives around the fandom. But at the same time, I do have to agree that Achronix is quite a bit better. I just love that guy. Let's just talk about their backstory. It was so well done in my opinion. I enjoyed it so much, and it's probably one of the best things about them, and Ninjago overall, really. While Crux's severe hatred towards modern technology may have gotten a bit annoying at times, it wasn't all bad. So in conclusion, these guys were fantastic, and I sure hope we see them reappear in the future. This probably is an unpopular opinion, but here I have Garmadon. Specifically Emperor Garmadon, but all of them do fit into this particular spot on my list. If I am being honest here, Garmadon is really cool, and I do like him a lot, don't get me wrong, but I do almost feel as though he can be quite overrated at times. Don't get me wrong, his backstory and overall character arcs in the past have been pretty incredible, but I just don't really connect with his character much, and he's nowhere near being my overall favourite Ninjago character. Aside from that side of things though, it truly has been incredible to see him change and develop throughout Ninjago's run, and in a way he's grown up along with the fans. From the lesser evil Lord Garmadon, to the good Sensei Garmadon, and most recently to Emperor Garmadon. It's been really great to see him go through all of those different stages, and all of his arcs he's received along the way. Well then, entering our final top 3 spots, probably a surprise to some of my newer viewers, but here is the Overlord. If you know me, you'll know that my name doesn't tie into the actual character much. He isn't my favourite villain, nor is he my favourite character. But the more I begin to actually think about it, the more I realise that I do actually like the Overlord quite a bit more than most other villains, as you can see. As I've already mentioned in the video, I'm a pretty big fan of the pure evil big bad guy villains. I think they are really cool, and I love seeing their overall presence on screen. I think it's really cool overall, and that's where I really begin to like the Overlord a lot, and I really like what he's all about. Essentially, he's the living embodiment of evil within Ninjago, and he is part of the balance between good and evil. Without him, there would be no balance, and Ninjago would most likely descend into complete hell, which is why the Overlord can never truly be defeated at all. I absolutely adored his encounters with Garmadon, as before the Overlord got introduced to us, we always knew Garmadon as that big ultimate bad guy of Ninjago, but things immediately changed in Season 2. So to round this all off, I love everything about the Overlord, and I really enjoy everything he stands for. Very good stuff there. Number 2, Morrow. Recently this guy has grown on me a lot, and I absolutely adore his character. His backstory is what really makes him stand out among the other Ninjago villains too. That's just phenomenal and pretty creepy. I loved his personality a lot too. I know a large chunk of the community likes to refer to him as the quote-unquote edgy emo teenager, which, you know, does match up pretty nicely with Morrow, but honestly there isn't all that much to really say about him. He's extremely awesome, and that's that. Do I even need to say anything here? I'm sure you all saw this one coming. At the number 1 spot, we do have Nandakhan. I can't stress this enough, but he's just so goddamn fantastic. His personality, his motives, all of it. It just all adds up to create such a phenomenal character, and I can't get enough of it. I have made a few videos talking about this guy already, so I don't want to go too in depth in this one, but just know that I like basically everything about Nandakhan. He was extremely intimidating within Season 6, and I loved that. I thought it was incredible. Again, not too much I can really say here, but just know that I think Nandakhan is an absolutely phenomenal villain, and yeah, I just enjoy every single little thing about him. So, with all of this finally being said, I really do hope you all enjoyed today's video. I stayed up till about 2 AM to finish this one, so I really do hope you enjoy it. If you did, I'd appreciate it so much if you left a like on it, subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications. There's going to be so many new videos coming your way. I'm fully focused on getting to that 1,000 subscriber goal, and I'm not stopping till I reach that. So, with all of this finally being said, I will see you all in my next one.